Ziad Salam, and lately I've been reading the book The Hidden Oracle by Rick Riordan. The book is based on mythology with a bit of society added to it, modern society added to it. The book immediately takes place after a previous book in the same series, where the god Apollo, in this case the protagonist, and his son were tricked into starting a war between the Romans and the Greek. For a second time. As a punishment, Apollo's father, Zeus, stripped him of his godly powers and sent him to Earth to fend for himself. Once arriving to Earth painfully, Apollo is immediately greeted by two thugs who want to hurt him and steal his money. Being so defenseless and unreliable, he submits to them quickly. Thankfully, though, a little girl with the name Meg McCaffrey saves him, and she has incredible strength, and she claims him as her servant, which is why Apollo is forced to do what she says in order to earn back his godly powers. It's basically a trial. Being reasonable, Meg ordered Apollo to take her to Percy Jackson, who's basically the best Greek fighter in all of America, and in the Greek books, to help them out. Unfortunately, though, Percy is trying to start a new life, which is why he can't help them. But he agrees to take them to a separate Camp Half Blood, actually, where they're full of professionals, where they would be more than happy to help them. It is then after arriving to the camp that Apollo and Meg go on an endless set of adventures, where they get ambushed multiple times and risk their lives many times for the other. They start in an endless labyrinth, then a deadly forest, then an ancient cave, then a cursed grove, then a final battle between the main villain of the story and his 100-foot robot, and the camp's tenant and the camp's residents, half gods, half mortals, and Apollo. And to put it simply, it was just an epic battle. One thing I like is how the author tried to move the story and the audience's attention from Percy Jackson to Apollo, which is so unusual, but it was so well done. It was so subtly, but very well done, to the point where most readers and fans of the book were more happy that the book was about a different character instead of Percy Jackson and his sidekicks. However, one thing I didn't like was how, basically, from the beginning until the end of the book, Apollo would never talk about his background, or in more specific detail, he would start a sentence, but he would never add any more context to it. For example, he would talk about his past and how he had a rivalry with another god, but he would never explain anything after that, why the rivalry was around, or how did it end, if it even ended, assuming that it ended. One passage that definitely stood out was, and I say in quotations, just as the projectile reached its apex and was about to fall back to earth, a gust of wind caught it. Perhaps Zephyros looking kindly on my pitiful attempt. The arrow sailed into the Colossus's ear canal and rattled in his head with a clink, clink, clink like a pinball machine. The Colossus halted, stared at the window as if confused. He looked at the sky, then arched his back, lurked forward, making a sound like a tornado ripping off the roof of a warehouse. End quote. To clarify a bit what just happened, Apollo, the god of archery, promised to never practice archery again since he was so horrible at it as a human, and he took an oath on River Styx to never use it again until he's a god. And as a last-ditch effort, when the giant robot, was destroying his home and several other homes, he decided as a last-ditch effort to save to save his house, to save his place of residence by casting a plague upon an arrow, and shoot it at the robot. It broke his oath, and in this case, it's life binding. But Apollo did what he had to do. The other thing is the other thing was it would normally be impossible, but again the god Zephyros helped him. The god of West Wind helped him. He shot the arrow even up higher as an act of forgiveness. They showed that he forgave Apollo. The passage stands out in particular because, as I mentioned earlier, Apollo took an oath to never practice archery again. This is life binding, meaning that there is a tailor-made punishment that he is going to suffer in hell. And also the fact that Zephyros, the god of wind, who he had a fight with earlier, when I say earlier, I mean a few thousand years earlier, forgave him and helped him. Finally, I would recommend this book to someone who's interested in mythology because the whole book is based on Greek gods, someone who has a lot of patience because the book makes the reader wait a bit until explaining its major plot points and why it happened, and someone who is definitely open-minded to topics like gayness and someone overall ready to learn mostly about Greek mythology. This has been my presentation. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your day.